You were at Lake Rant, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for James Camp Fortson, who says, "Hey, me again, the Steely Dan guy. Could you rant about the XTC song Easter Theater? XTC is my favorite band, and I think you would really like this band. Also, I missed my August rant. Could you talk about F is for Family? I know Endless Jess likes it. What do you think? I dig the '70s setting." So I listened to the XTC song. It was definitely unique and somewhat interesting, and the instrumentation used the soundscape of the song. But ultimately, it didn't really grab me. I wasn't like particularly interested in it. It just isn't a sound that was like up my alley particularly. I checked out another one of their songs, and like I got the sense from like their strong like storytelling angle and their lyrics and everything, and somewhat interesting compositions that I understood why this band would be somebody's favorite. They just don't really have a sound that appeals to me personally. But anyways, F is for Family. That one I was not. I did not know what to expect from that show because I thought it was going to be more like, Bill Burr playing himself as dad in a sitcom show. Because there's been a bunch of shows kind of like that, and it's not like that at all. And in fact, it's really not like a modern sitcom at all because it's certainly not in the realm of like a Family Guy or anything like that or American Dad, even though it has a similar family structure to a show like that. You might even say it was closer to Rick and Morty, but it's not absurd, and I think it's just ultimately not even primarily a comedy. Like it felt really dramatic. I guess I would compare it to BoJack Horseman in a way, in that it's like a very sad portrait of a man who's in a late stage of his life who has all kinds of personality disorders or inabilities to cope with his life in its current stage just because of the way he got to this point. And whereas BoJack is more of like this wisecracking, Hollywood asshole who's like intelligent to some extent but doesn't really understand how to run his life. The dad in F is for Family is like kind of just a schlubby moron who fought in the Korean War and ended up with a family before he knew it and doesn't really know how to manage his money. He's not in like an amazing spot in his career, and he's just like kind of angry and vitriolic, and he's somewhat abusive towards his kids, and like but at the same time, they're all trying to be a good family together. It's just like it feels like a very realistic portrayal of just like a dysfunctional suburban family of the time period. And like where you can't even really blame anyone too hard for the way they are because it's just a product of the environment and what they've how they've come up. Like they don't even understand how to function differently. Like you see this a lot with the wife who seems more reasonable than the husband, but at the same time gets completely wrapped up in like his worldview and the way that he internalizes all the things around him. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting show. I definitely did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did, even though I didn't think it was particularly funny. Again, if it is intended to be a comedy, it's more like there are moments where you might get a big laugh just out of the hilarious way that like a sentence is said or something like that. It's show has swearing in it, which always helps, and it's also used for dramatic moments where there's like really, incisive moments, with particularly when the older teenage son, who's obviously like kind of a punk and goes off and like makes out with random girls and stuff like that, even though he's like in middle school. Where he tries to take the blame for something the younger brother did to accidentally break the dad's TV, and he just screams at him like, "I fucking hate you, Dad!" And like, there's this shot of his face like looking kind of regretful or hurt, like he didn't want to have to say that, but he felt like it was the only thing he could say in that moment, and there's no going back from it. And so it's just like it's an extra layer of character depth that makes you think, oh, this is a drama. This is not even a comedy, even if it's funny sometimes. But like, I don't know, it was kind of dark and almost difficult to watch. There was like a cringe-worthy element to it, even though it ultimately ended on a high note for at least that episode. And I don't know if it would regularly do that or if it'll go the route of something like BoJack, where sometimes it just ends as a fucking downer, or even Rick and Morty. But yeah, overall, pretty good episode.